Welcome to the Restricted Handling Podcast. This is what's been going on in China in the past 24 hours. Start with the big picture. China is pulling Western leaders back into Beijing without giving up much of anything in return. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer showed up in China this week, the first UK leader to do so since 2018. The public tone was all about business, services, and stability. The uncomfortable stuff, Hong Kong, political prisoners, espionage concerns, got gently placed in the let's not ruin the vibe box. Britain approved a massive new Chinese embassy in London, cut tariffs on Scotch whiskey, and agreed to visa-free travel. That's not nothing, but it's also not exactly a strategic windfall for London. Canada followed a similar path earlier in January. Prime Minister Mark Carney went to Beijing and announced a strategic partnership. Canada cut tariffs on some Chinese electric vehicles, while China eased restrictions on Canadian agricultural exports like canola. This is Canada's first leader-level reset with China in almost a decade, despite a long list of unresolved grievances. And just to underline the imbalance, Canada brought farm goods to the table, while China brought high-end EVs. Subtle? Not really. What's notable here is what China didn't do. No major concessions on trade imbalances. No movement on human rights. No change in behavior on security issues. Beijing didn't chase these countries. They let them come. It's very you-know-where-my-office-is energy. Germany, interestingly, pumped the brakes a bit. Berlin's foreign minister said this week that Germany is not equidistant between the US and China and never will be. Security still runs through Washington. That said, Germany and the EU are still pushing trade deals across Asia to hedge risk. So even the skeptics are diversifying, just more carefully. Meanwhile, Russia is back doing what Russia does best, loudly backing China while quietly needing China. On Sunday, Russia's Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu met with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi and reaffirmed Moscow's unwavering support for China's position on Taiwan. Full stop. No ambiguity. Taiwan's foreign ministry immediately pushed back, calling it bullying and destabilizing. This alignment isn't symbolic. Russia is still isolated over Ukraine, and China benefits from having Moscow reinforce the narrative that Taiwan is a settled issue internationally. It's very Cold War vibes, just with worse uniforms and more social media. Now let's talk about Taiwan and the near seas, because that's where the pressure is most visible. On Saturday, China conducted naval and air patrols around Scarborough Shoal, an area firmly inside the Philippines, exclusive economic zone, but claimed by Beijing. This came just days after joint U.S.-Philippine military exercises in the same area. China's military described the patrols as a response to provocations. That phrasing is basically on autopilot at this point. Then, state media dropped something unusual. Video of a Chinese Type 055 destroyer firing electronic jamming missiles near Taiwan to warn off foreign aircraft. No country named, no date given. But the message was clear. The ship coordinated with an aircraft carrier, ramped up radar power, and launched electronic countermeasures. This wasn't about shooting anyone down. This was about showing they can blind, confuse, and control the environment. Think less Top Gun, more signal warfare. At the same time, all of this is happening while Xi Jinping is gutting his own military leadership. Over the past 2 weeks, Xi has removed or sidelined 5 of the 6 senior generals he personally promoted just a few years ago. The most striking was Zhang Youxia, the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission and one of Xi's longtime associates. Investigations are also hitting the PLA's chief of staff. As of now, only Xi himself and the commission's anti-corruption chief remain from the original top leadership lineup. This is not a small reshuffle. This is ripping out the command spine. Official military media says it's about discipline and loyalty. Analysts say it leaves fewer experienced commanders in place at a time when China is running complex joint operations around Taiwan. Both can be true. And here's the thing. When militaries are internally unstable, they often compensate externally. More exercises, more patrols, more signaling. Not because they're stronger, but because they want to look stronger. If this feels familiar, that's because the Soviet Union ran the same script more than once. China is also refining how it thinks about future conflict, especially logistics. A Chinese military journal highlighted a cruise missile called the YJ-18C, first shown at last year's big military parade in Beijing. It's not hypersonic, it's not flashy. It's subsonic, stealthy, relatively cheap, and designed to hit transport and supply ships. The idea isn't to sink aircraft carriers, it's to starve the force behind them. This is an attrition mindset, not a knockout punch mindset. It's the long game. Economically, Beijing is still very comfortable using pressure. Japan's TDK confirmed this week that Chinese restrictions on rare earth exports are already causing serious procurement problems. They've been burning through stockpiles since last year and are now scrambling to redesign products to use fewer rare earths. That's the point. China isn't trying to shut production down tomorrow. It's trying to force painful, expensive adaptation. At the same time, China is signaling selective openness. Hainan Island officially became the world's largest free trade port in December. Most goods enter tariff-free. Corporate and personal taxes are capped well below mainland levels. Citizens from 86 countries can visit without visas. Some firms even get limited access to the global internet. Beijing wants this to look like reform without risking contagion. Whether it becomes a real model or another economic island, literally, remains to be seen. Inside China, the pressure is piling up. Demographics are getting ugly fast. Only 7.9 million babies were born last year, down sharply from the year before. That's the lowest number since the founding of the People's Republic. Beijing has tried incentives. They've tried restrictions. Now there are reports of officials discussing tying birth targets to local performance reviews. That's a road China has been down before, and it didn't end well. The anti-corruption machine keeps rolling too. This weekend, China announced an investigation into the Minister of Emergency Management. No details, just the usual serious violations language. That phrase has become the political equivalent of, "We're done talking about this." Finally, China's State Security Service issued a public warning about foreign intelligence agents posing as experts in online professional groups to extract sensitive information. Whether this reflects real cases, internal paranoia, or both, it tells you something about the current mood in Beijing. The walls are going up, even as the doors stay selectively open. Thanks for listening and being part of the RH community. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. If you want to see some changes, email us at info@restrictedhandling.com. We also publish a daily written intel brief on Substack, where you'll find even deeper coverage of Russia and China, along with insights on Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK.